Daybreak Africa is your one-stop top-notch breakfast show that brings you all the interesting stories happening in and around Africa.
Because we have all the morning essentials,
including the latest news, sports, weather, and events. And of course, the people.
Daybreak Africa on Television Nigerian.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Abuja. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Africa. Many thanks for being with us this morning. My name is Mercy Joe.
And my name is Elvis Oga. It's actually a thing of joy to know that you are with us this morning on Daybreak Africa, right here on Television Nigeria. I believe we all had a beautiful night rest. Good morning, Mercy Joe.
Good morning, Elvis. Partner, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really great.
It's very bright, I see.
I think I took some rest from the advice you gave me yesterday, and I'm feeling better.
You see, I'm a very good advisor. You should listen to what I say.
It's all good. All right, yesterday a whole lot actually happened. Yeah. Like we talked about, like people starting their week on a very positive note with a whole lot of plans to unfold and then to follow up. And we had a series of reports all across the world. Yeah.
Reopening of schools.
Reopening of schools
in Nigeria.
And then airpeace trying to evacuate Nigerians, and then their landing permit being withdrawn by the UK authorities.
That's there. And then a suicide story from 23
We'll be giving you some COVID-19 updates as well.
True.
So let's begin with the school reopening plans and then the guideline released by the federal government in collaboration with other agencies.
All right. The reopening of schools, although no date has been dropped and confirmed yet, but then the social physical distancing is there. It can't be far from not being there in the guidelines. And then schools are looking into opening new special centers for students as well, just because of that same physical distancing.
Adopting several new methods just to accommodate the situation on the ground regarding COVID-19. Recall that we talked about COVID-19 has actually come to expose several things, and it is interesting to know that the federal government or the Minister of Education, the President of Adamu, actually acknowledged the fact that COVID-19 might be with us for a while, which actually necessitated the plans to make out modalities for the reopening of schools.
You know, the other time they were talking about reopening schools for just graduating students. But now, you know, last time in the program we talked about, should it be just for opening the schools for just graduating students? What about the situation where they can implement, and so everyone goes back to school?
We talked about that on Friday, and then on Saturday I was on a platform. I had a talk about that same topic with some seasoned broadcasters, and they were talking about, okay, we are saying the students in the examination classes should resume and write exams. To what end? To what use? They write exams and go back and stay at home when they cannot fall forward or move forward, because if the schools are not open, okay, primary HS3, primary 6 and JSS3 are going to write these exams, and then the universities are still short. So after writing your O-level exam, where do you take it to? After writing your JSS3 junior WAEC, as we call it, where you cannot move on, you cannot move into the senior secondary.
So what's it's just to hold the result and then
still
be back home.
The idea of the Minister of Education to actually order that reversal concerning the plan of Nigerian students participating in WAEC the last time, and then coming up with this thing is actually very, very okay. And times with that number, we've had major stakeholders across different fields come on this platform to talk about the way we should actually adopt so that we can actually have our children back in school.
Yeah.
And it's actually working.
You know, the other time we were talking about probably PPE given to the children to wear.
And
then you came out with
cost,
something.
Yeah, cost implication.
Yes, you're not talking about something better. Probably they redo their uniforms.
Yeah.
Long sleeves, longer uniforms,
Yes.
their socks all up, their hand gloves, their face shields along with the face mask and what have you. So you were talking about that. I was like, yes, that's a good idea, but then the cost implication.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just the problem here.
You know, people might want to look at it, especially if you are within that age range, that frenzy of, okay, I normally used to be on short during my junior secondary school days, and then when I cross to SS1, and when I cross to SS1, I'm going to be wearing trousers and all. But if we are talking about this now, that feeling will not be there again. But what do we have to consider feelings when we're talking about the health of people?
Yeah.
So I think that suggestion is quite good. The authorities who are actually listening at the moment should look into that, and the schools as well should think about that.
Because some schools are even already placing adverts for the reopening of their schools. They're already showing pictures and video examples that hand washing basins are already there. All this fumigation is going on in schools presently. Like we can see, schools are actually putting in place measures right now.
I know it's very rational that the federal government has not actually put out any date for the resumption. They should just use this time to evaluate the level of preparedness by these various schools,
Probably they go
authorities,
for
and
inspections
exactly,
as well.
and then see how prepared we are for our students and how safe the environment are. I am actually very happy with the fact that they were talking about not just the safety of the children, but the safety of the teachers and even the parents at large. And it will go a long way. If you want to look at these guidelines that have been released by the federal government, one after the other, talk about the 2 meter physical distancing they say they want to put in place. And they were talking about if they have been able to collect the registry of all the students in school, and now go into evaluating how much it will cost to redesign the space or the sitting arrangement so that it can accommodate the 2 meters physical
and the earlier
distance.
the better.
Yeah, the earlier the better. They were talking about organizing classes or lessons in small groups as well. And we're looking at, okay, if they can actually tell the parents Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that is when you bring your child to school.
Yeah.
Another parents Thursday, Friday, if they could actually
we talked about this in the program one time where I was saying that probably home lessons for pupils that are staying in same vicinity, same estate, same probably area. They say, okay, 4 of them stay in this space. One teacher is coming at this particular time to teach them or take them lessons. Eventually, that way, school goes on fine.
Yeah.
Now, talking about 2 meters apart because of the whole droplets, airborne. The other day, I mean, the NCDC, they're talking about it's possible that there's airborne transmission from COVID-19.
You know, we're talking about this droplet, and this droplet, they fly in the air.
They actually fly in the air.
When you sneeze,
cough is airborne.
Yes.
Qatar is airborne. So those 2 symptoms are there for COVID-19.
Exactly.
So if they're droplets, it's the same as saying that they are airborne disease as well. So they can be in the air. And when there is no ventilation, where you're stuck in somewhere, probably like in a room, and then no one is using their face masks, it's easy for this to just be up in the air, and then you breathe in and breathe out, and it's there.
It's there already. You know, and then for the government and the authorities to not leave out the space, the place of e-learning is another big one as well. So the schools who are actually buoyant enough, and the federal government are actually talking about when they are carrying out this evaluation, they will look into the cost implication of everything that have been projected by the school authorities, and see how they can actually come into the situation, and then maybe bring that to bear and see how we can get back to schools.
Actually, we need to see that we can get back to school, and then we all need to be careful, because if it's airborne, it means at no point should your face mask be down.
But when we're talking about the new way the uniform should be designed, we were talking about, okay, having maybe the schools now redesigning their uniform to long sleeve, and then no more short knickers.
It should be long.
Long like trousers.
Like trousers.
And then boots covered, no sandals again.
No boots.
Boots. And then, very importantly, we talk about the face mask and the face shield.
Face shield.
Yeah.
So that's the face shield alongside the face mask inside. Because I think that let's give a brief explanation of that face shield. The face shield is there, but then I think even if there's any droplet, it can still penetrate. I mean, on there. But if you're still putting on your face mask and then your face shield to prevent any other droplet still coming to, because the face mask is this way, that means you can still, any droplet can still touch your head here, touch probably underneath your eye. Yes. So, but that face shield covers it. But then doesn't mean you shouldn't use your face mask.
And when you were talking about the cost implication of it on maybe on the schools and the parents at large, we now look at, apart from just the parents maybe having to pay more for the uniforms and some of these, the supply of these materials, we're now looking at, we know some students in this country, when you put in all of those things, long sleeve, long shorts, that means the classroom needs to be equipped for proper ventilation.
True, proper ventilation. I mean, if your classroom has probably 50 students in it before, and then it has just 2 windows, I think now is the time for them to have about 4 windows, possibly 5. I mean, just have to be safe.
If we're talking about organizing these lessons in smaller groups, then probably having to redesign the sitting arrangement of the desk and everything, that 50 cannot go into one class any longer. Except maybe the 50 was not filling the capacity of the class.
Yes, except that situation. Probably you only see that in private institutions. I doubt you see that in the federal.
This is actually taking us back to what somebody said initially when COVID-19 came, that COVID-19 is here to restore factory setting. So if we are able to get it right this time, you know, some of these government institutions have actually been left unattended to. They became moribund. This is another opportunity for the government to tap into them or look into them and see how they can be rejuvenated.
Yeah, here it is. I mean, coronavirus came into the country and it brought out some parts in the country that were left aside. And then now we're seeing everybody taking it seriously. Now back to the airline, Airpeace. We were talking about it this morning in the program.
You know, when I saw that caption yesterday, I was thinking maybe they were already on air and they never granted them the landing space or a landing permit. But from a little check,
I was asking,
even though till now it's not clear, and we're talking about, even though if it's like that, we're now looking at, if not for the foresight of the aviation sector that will tell you some necessary things you need to have in place, like before you make any trip, you have to make sure whatever you have is enough to take you there and fro, to and fro. If not,
what would have happened?
You know, I'll say what would have happened. But what I saw is that they actually made full proper representation, full payment and all, and that's when I got to know that these evacuees, they actually have commitment they pay, either by the government or by them individually. Yes. So after making all these payments and all, and they were supposed to be evacuated yesterday, and then Airpeace, the landing permit of Airpeace was withdrawn by the UK authorities. Wow. And the federal government, through the Minister of Foreign Affairs, came out to talk about it, and he gave explanations why. And he said the explanation was needed for Nigerians to know that, or these evacuees, the stranded Nigerians in the UK, to know that it's not the fault of the federal government, it's not the fault of the Airpeace, because Airpeace actually exhibited some patriotic gestures, because the money they were supposed to pay for them to evacuate these stranded Nigerians was actually very less and subsidized. But when the British government or the UK government gave it to another airline or another carrier, the fee was actually bigger. But Airpeace decided to take responsibility. That means maybe I was paid 3 million naira to airlift Nigerians, but this new airline is saying I'm taking 5 million, so they have to augment it with their own 2 million naira. I'm not saying that's the amount, I just give an instance.
No, definitely, we understand that. But then this is trying to make it feel like there is something underneath that we are not understanding.
Exactly. If you recall that I was making reference to a particular airline that came in from UK some times back at the heat of the coronavirus, and that it was impounded because of some sharp practices in quote, when they said
which wasn't right.
Yeah, they said the aircraft was coming with some relief materials and packages to battle COVID-19, but it was discovered that it was a passenger.
Kind of business passengers that were coming in.
It was a passenger that came in, and nobody could ascertain the level of clearance or scrutiny they must have undergone from where they came from, and then when they got here, how they actually went about the whole thing. Now, we actually applauded the aviation industry and the appropriate authorities for taking that swift action there, and we are saying we hope this is not a case of retaliation. I understand that the Minister of Aviation said they are going to maybe revisit our partnership deals with various countries concerning our air movement and air travels. I think the call is very prompt and it's accurate, it's timely.
Let there be peace. That's all I would say, because there's peace there.
You were
And the
talking about the sad
23-year-old,
incidents.
very sad incident, a 23-year-old young lady, she committed suicide after being physically abused by her own blood brother. So I think it has been reoccurring.
Yes.
So, but the story is not quite clear yet, because we don't understand to what extent, why exactly, the story is not yet fully out.
When I saw that story, I was trying to relate to it. We had siblings while growing up.
Yeah.
We know that rivalry to an extent. Sometimes I want to call it childish, but it all depends on how the parents handle it then.
Yes, because it actually happens in most
It happens
homes.
in most homes.
It happens. But then
I
to the
remember
extent she
growing up
had
with
to
my
commit
sister, I
suicide,
remember times with that number, we had face-off.
definitely, but it depends on how it was resolved at the end of the day.
It got to a point in my place, they'll be like, the person that you are directly after or directly after you people tend not to agree a lot. That's more like, that's what they say, because you feel maybe you people are competing for something or some stuff, but we all know it's natural, it's going to be there. But it's when the parents don't handle it well, and maybe they don't allow it come in terms of, okay, it's just normal children or sibling stuff and it's escalated to something. And you know, some kids can actually take things too serious.
Yeah, they take things very, very seriously.
Especially when they are not given the right atmosphere, the right training and all, when they are low, when their self-value is being tampered with, which resulting to low self-esteem. They just feel they are being abused emotionally and otherwise. It could actually result to something like this.
Yes, because I see no reason why you should physically abuse your own sibling. Now, he did it in a way that she now felt, probably I'm not part of this family.
From that report, it didn't just happen once.
No, it was reoccurring.
Yes.
So she got frustrated probably and then decided to commit suicide. But then I have this advice for people. I don't know. Probably you meet the right people to report. If your dad is still alive, your mom is still alive, report to them. I don't think it's something
if your
you need to
mom
go
or your dad
far.
are not actually handling the issue, where you can actually reach out to other people
authorities.
around you.
Probably you meet the security personnel, the police, to ask them that, see, I don't know what my parents does, but committing suicide
is not an option at all.
Where are you going to after that? That's the question you should always have in your mind. Anyway, Nigeria recorded 595 new cases of coronavirus yesterday, bringing to a total of 33,153 cases of COVID-19 in the country. Recovered cases, 13,671. Deaths, sadly, 744 deaths. You know, each and every other day we bring out this figure so we understand that COVID-19 is real and is in the country, and that we need to be careful, because if the NCDC is coming out to say now that airborne transmission is quite possible for the coronavirus, then we need to be very, very careful. We should always put on our face mask.
You know, to make a very strong statement concerning COVID-19, one may need to study the statistics over time before you be able to give an inference to it, if you want to go maybe scientific with all the figures and everything. But yesterday, on Sunday night, it was recorded the death recorded was about 16. Yesterday, I saw that it was 4. Even though every life matter, but a reduction from 16 to 4, it's actually huge, and it's something that maybe you could actually brighten us a bit. But like I said, we need to study it for a while and then see. Somebody was asking, you know, before the whole COVID-19 case became this serious in the country, somebody was asking, people that have been recovering, what drugs have they been administering to them or on them? If that could actually be administered on people. But there's something about health that is quite very tricky and funny at the same time. The drugs that work for someone may not work for another person, because the genotype will have to play, the blood group, and then the level, the strength of your immune system, and several other factors.
That's why it's possible that paracetamol can be what will reduce headache in one person right now, but another person can't even take that Panadol and paracetamol because it affects the person's system.
Exactly.
You get, so that's just how it is. But then anyway, look at the statistics according to what Elvis has said very well, and understand the progress and the decline of coronavirus in the country. Anyway, it's time to go to the news desk and see what Susan Atchin has for us this morning.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils, and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no scientific evidence that cooking, drinking, or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health, and WHO.
Good morning and welcome to AM News. I am Susan Achin. COVID-19 cases in Nigeria have exceeded 33,000 following the confirmation of 595 new infections in the country. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) disclosed this on Monday night. According to the agency, the new infections were recorded in 19 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Following the 595 new cases in the country, the total confirmed cases now stand at 33,153. On a positive note, the country has been able to discharge 13,671 people who recovered from the virus. Unfortunately, a total of 744 persons have succumbed to COVID-19 after being confirmed as fatalities from the infections. Similarly, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) says there are possibilities that coronavirus can be transmitted through the air. NCDC Director General Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu, who disclosed this on Monday at the briefing of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, attributed it to new evidence. According to him, the disease is believed to only be transmittable through droplets that emanate from the nose and the mouth and fall to the ground. The NCDC boss noted that the WHO has also updated its guidelines with the same position on the mode of COVID-19 transmission. He therefore called on Nigerians to act in a precautionary way and assumed that the virus could be transmitted through air. The federal government has released guidelines for the safe reopening of schools after COVID-19 pandemic closures. On its official website, the Federal Ministry of Education published the guidelines and outlined actions, measures and requirements needed for the safe reopening of schools after the coronavirus pandemic is contained. The 52-page communique, which was signed by the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, and the Minister of State Education, Honorable Chukwemeka Nwajubu, was developed in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Environment, Federal Ministry of Health, and health safety experts in the country. According to him, the guidelines for schools and learning facilities reopening after COVID-19 pandemic closures outlines key strategies for implementing safe and efficient and equitable plans for school reopening and operations. Now, 35 medical doctors have tested positive for the coronavirus disease in Kwara State. The chairman of the Nigerian Medical Association in the state, Kolade Sholageru, disclosed this on Monday while addressing journalists on the activities of the union. According to him, most of the affected members are those working outside the isolation centers, as they have no access to personal protective equipment. The NMA boss therefore appealed to the state government to give hazard allowances as being enjoyed by the doctors in the employment of the federal government, and also made a case for a tax rebate for his colleagues. Meanwhile, Unmi El Rufai, the wife of Kaduna State Governor Nasir El Rufai, the chairperson of Federation of Women Lawyers in Kaduna State, and other human rights activists have demanded justice for a teenager allegedly tortured by her boss. They are demanding for justice to be served against the suspect, describing her action as ungodly and inhuman. The 14-year-old maid was said to have been battered with a knife by a middle-aged woman who subjected her to all the dehumanizing conditions for more than 1 year. The woman, who was arrested and detained by the police over the weekend, was however arraigned on Monday before a magistrate court in the state capital. And onto the entertainment scene, one of the housemates from the 3rd season of the reality TV show Big Brother Naija, Nina Chinonso Onyenobi, popularly known as Nina, has welcomed her first child with husband in the United States of America. The reality TV star's husband announced the news via his Instagram page on Monday. Congratulations to Nina and hubby. And that's it on AM News. I am Susan Achin. We'll now go across Africa for some more news. Stay with us.
Welcome to News Across Africa on Daybreak Africa. Now, the leaders from Ivory Coast ruling party agreed at a closed-door meeting late Wednesday to press President Alassane Ouattara to seek a third term in October's presidential election. This follows the sudden death of Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly. Two sources said on the condition of anonymity that all options were on the table, including a new candidacy for President Ouattara. Ouattara announced in March that he would not stand for re-election after 10 years in office and designated his closest ally, Prime Minister Gon Coulibaly, as the RHDP party's candidate. Gon Coulibaly's death on Wednesday, less than a week after he returned to Ivory Coast from an extended medical leave in France for heart issues, left the RHDP